We really love a couple things here on Group Chat Football Live, and those would be former five stars and UNLV football. We've got both of them here with this next one, and that's Denver Harris, who was, like I just said, a five-star recruit. He's one of these poster childs for the transfer portal era, kind of in a, not in the most positive way to this point, right? Now that this is going to be school number 4 for him, starting his career at Texas A&M, then went to LSU, was at UTSA last year, and then UNLV now going to be his next stop. And look, I say it hasn't been the most positive thing when it comes to the transfers up to this point, but an opportunity here, really a final opportunity at UNLV, as we've talked about pretty much every day here with Dan Mullen, trying to bring in as much pure talent as possible and then trying to see what he can get out of it. This is not the first high-profile transfer in terms of corner for UNLV, as last week they picked up LaTerrence Welch from Arizona State, who was their number 3 corner this year before getting kicked off the team for an issue with a teammate stole his watch. So that was not a great situation. But again, Denver Harris, you're betting on the upside here, or what's left of it, in terms of a guy who plays a premium position of cornerback.
Yeah, and you'd lose some guys to the Power 4 level if you're UNLV in the secondary. We talked about Jalen Catalon going to Missouri, one of the big pickups of the offseason in terms of the secondary. Tony Grimes, another well-traveled player, goes to Purdue. Jet Elad going to Rutgers. So you lose guys to the Power 4, and you bring in these former Power 4 players. And we talked about it. Dan Mullen loves the SEC. He loves the Southeast. He loves to get these kind of guys. Welch, again, former LSU. Denver Harris, former Texas A&M. This is a guy who, look, at the cornerback position is very much about traits. There's not that many guys that have the size and athleticism of Denver Harris, and guys with those traits are going to keep getting opportunities. The same thing at defensive line. So could it work out? Could it not work out? There's a variance there. But if you bring in enough of these guys with the ability, you're hoping to find at least a few that stick around, that do the right thing, and give you high-level coverage ability in your conference. Top 50 player from Houston, Texas, came from a great program in North Shore and had some production last year for UTSA. It seemed like he was playing better and the light was coming on. Obviously wanted to change the scenery. UNLV, to me, is the favorite in terms of getting to the championship last year, now having a chance to get back and win it with Dan Mullen, the best play caller in the conference. Got Calandria, a quarterback who can make plays. Talked about Alex Orji, sort of that gimmicky, maybe Tim Tebow 06 weapon for Dan Mullen. Jalen Glover in the backfield, somebody who Dan Mullen's familiar with in the state of Florida, originally from Lakeland area. So pieces on offense are there. Defensively, when you lose all those guys to the Power 4, you need Power 4 body types to replace them. I think that's what you're seeing with Denver Harris. Boomer bust type pickup for UNLV. And look, if you're in Las Vegas, you got to go boomer bust, right? That's the nature of the town, and that's the nature of the program right now. Some of these aren't going to hit. Some of these guys that have bounced around so many programs, bounced around for a reason. But if you hit, you're going to hit big.
Well, and there's something to be said for, and the hit rate on this may not be very good in terms of percentage, but there is something to be said for a guy like Harris who understands, or should understand, this is his last chance to show what he's got for the NFL scouts. If you're a former 5-star recruit, you carry that with you to the NFL, believe it or not. There's always, the scouts are going to have that checked. It doesn't mean they're going to draft you any higher because of it, but it does make them kind of look at you when they go into those schools and with an extra, all right, well, this guy was a 5-star for a reason, had to have been from a physical standpoint back in the day, because we understand the 5-stars all stand out from a physical talent perspective, right? But there's more to it. So if he can understand that, and not just him, but some of these other guys that they've brought in here, and say, look, this is my last chance to really show it for the NFL, I think that can help that light go off for some of these guys. And hopefully for Dan Mullen and staff, that is the case here with Denver Harris.
Yeah, it's they're going for it, man. I don't think Mullen's out there to build slow, right? He wants to make a big splash year one. Harris is a guy, like you mentioned, hungry to potentially make the pros. And by the way, look at that Texas A&M class, man. That was touted as the best recruiting class of all time. Aside from a guy like Shamar Stewart, will probably be a first-round pick here in the NFL draft coming up. A lot of turnover. A lot of these names are spread all across the country, not at College Station. They're doing fine. They have a really nice recruiting class coming in, had a solid season with Coach Elko their first year. But, man, that best class of all time. Maybe when you add all these pieces up, it ends up being close to the best class of all time, but certainly was not that for Texas A&M.
Well, we appreciate everyone who's been on with us today. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel here, Group Chat Football Live, as we go every day talking transfers, as you've seen here. Sadly, that's going to be coming to an end here soon. I say sadly, but man, it's been a whirlwind to keep up with, man. So we'll be done with that for a little bit, and then of course recruiting will pick up now. A lot of offers go out in the spring. And the coaching movement, it looks like slowed down a little bit, but there's still some stuff here and there. We saw the Tom Allen move earlier this week. We saw Miami hired Corey Heatherman over the weekend. So still a few things to kind of button up here along the way. But we will see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate everyone who was on with us here. And for the Canes fans here, we'll be going live on Canes Insight in just a bit with Mike Ryan. So stay tuned for that.
See you tomorrow.